Hi everyone, welcome to the last part in our Tone of Voice Masterclass, which is all about troubleshooting tone of voice issues, mainly with clients. So we're going to help you navigate all of those tricky little things that crop up with tone of voice. Konrad, what I thought a good place to start would be, when we all have to deal with this all the time, is when a client doesn't actually know what they want. They think they do, but they might not actually know. So they can come, it'll be like things like changing their mind, or so it goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. What do we do with them?
Just give up. Just stop copywriting. No, I'm joking. Obviously, as we mentioned in the last video, there is an element of subjectivity involved in the work that we do. We're not mathematicians, and it can lead to some troublesome situations at times. I would say, first of all, comparatively to being in the design game, we've got it pretty good. Generally, it's easier to kind of chisel copy into a place where the client is happy than, design. And it's easier for people to give feedback on words and sentences than looking at a logo, which can be incredibly difficult. So first of all, we're lucky that we're in the copywriting game. But naturally, people have different ideas. There's subjectivity involved. As much as we try to make it scientific, we try to set the ground rules and create guidelines and kind of point them to the guidelines. Sometimes they will come back and say, no, that's not right, or I don't think that's correct. This is how it should be. I feel like I've lost sight of the original question. What was the question?
What do they do when they keep changing their mind? It's like, I think that a big thing that is the problem of vagueness with a client. So they'll highlight things on the doc, and it will be things like, I don't like this, or I still don't like this, but there's no, without them being specific. And I think that when a client keeps changing their mind, a lot of the time it's because they haven't been specific about their own feedback in the first place. So they're not even sure what their starting point was or where they're going. So I think that getting them, like, the feedback process really firmly in place, making sure that when they're giving you feedback, they're specific about why they don't like something, why they like that tone, why isn't it working for them. Get them to give examples of things that they do like, and that specificity is going to go a really long way to helping you actually manage their changing minds.
100%. Yeah, it's like loose vagueness, as you put it, is where it is the stuff of nightmares, when it comes to feedback. And again, like I said, we are providing something on a Google Doc where they can write comments. So if they just have this overall feel, it just feels, jazz it up, for example, if they say that, try to get more specificity, like what sentences do you like, what sentences don't you like? Unless you feel confident that you understand that feedback and you have a crack at it. If it keeps happening, like if it's happened a second time, definitely, nip it in the bud and do what Ella says, which is like, get them to be granular about which sentences work and which don't, and why. They might find that a bit annoying, and sometimes you've got this client that is not only bad at giving feedback, they also don't like getting involved. It's unavoidable. There will be clients that just not great to work with, and there's kind of a perfect storm of challenging issues that they have when it comes to feedback. They don't want to write things down specifically. They want to be vague, but they keep changing their mind. But the more you can focus their attention in and explain, this and not this and why, and then if you've got some longevity to the project, or it's a retainer, and you kind of sense these or see these like red flags early on, take those instructions and take them out into another doc and make a kind of what do we call it, style guide for that particular client. Because again, it's like the brand voice guidelines, which you may or may not have, you know, especially if you're writing long form content, you can then come back, because if they change their mind, they go, but look, you said here, I followed these instructions. So not only does it preempt you from falling into the same problems again or making the same mistakes, if they are that type of client that keeps changing their mind, you can use that as a reference point and say, but hang on, you know, actually, I'm going to have to charge you more because you've changed the brief. This isn't just a round of feedback. I haven't got it wrong. And there needs to be a very clear definition and division between, you know, writing revisions based on feedback that is what, you know, valid, against them changing the brief, because arguably if they're changing the brief, they should be paying you more money.
Definitely. And I think that's money's a really important point as well, and it's something we can talk about, because
Let's talk about money.
Let's talk about money. If you're going back and forth, so okay, you've been asked to write 8 pages of web copy. You write the web copy from start to finish according to their tone of voice guidelines, if they have them, or according to the brief that you've been given, and they come back and they don't like it. No, it's not the tone of voice we want. So now you have to start all the way at the beginning and edit all of those tone of voice, the tone of voice for all of those pages. So a really, really important thing that you can do here, and I think we do mention this in the course, is always do a tone of voice checker. And we've learned this the hard way over the years, but now it's like we wouldn't do a project without a tone of voice check, which is basically, for that website, would be your homepage, because it's always the trickiest to get right. Get that set in stone. Just work on that homepage until they're happy with it, and then you've got your basis, and you can build on the copy, and the project will go a lot quicker from there on.
Yeah, definitely. Really good point.
Yeah. And yeah, I think that's kind of it. I think one other thing we could cover is when a client actually doesn't know what they want at all to start off with, because I think that does happen as well. Like, people will come and they're just, you know, I don't know, I'm not sure what I want. So from that point, you can you have to work with them to try and understand, and like, because what you don't want to happen is for you to keep jumping around different tones of voices that they're just gonna, until they're happy with one. So what do you think at that stage? It's more
it's a tough one, and sometimes, and often that is the case, especially when you're starting out. You will be working with startups and small businesses, and they might not know, and so I guess it's almost like this is where sort of brand strategy work comes in, or helping them to define that voice, which really falls into the bucket of kind of brand strategy, which you can charge for. So again, just think, you know, have your commercial hat on, and think that, like, you want to set this project up for success, right? You both want to get to that end goal, which is that perfect shiny copy that's going to compel and convince and convert customers. So what steps are going to be needed to get there? If they don't have a set idea of what that brand voice or what their brand is, it's going to be very difficult for you to get there. And like Ella said, you might go in one direction, they'll be like, no, another direction, no. So work with them, you know, consultatively, and charge for that time to kind of flesh it out. Ask them these questions and get paid for it. And, you know, you're making more money, they're getting, you know, a more logical process that will lead to a good end result. So it's a win-win situation. And I think another thing we wanted to chat about, correct me if I'm wrong, Els, is that I think some people in the course were kind of wondering where's that line between when they should just accept what the client is saying and when they should push back.
a good point. It is.
I'm asking you. I'm throwing that question to you. Yeah.
I think it's our job to. I don't think there's a definitive answer. I think that it's our job to, and we use our own expertise to guide them, and to use and whatever we're trying to guide them towards, try and back up with case studies, with data, like articles you can find on the web, for a particular headline formula you've used, or a different or whatever direction you're going in. Try to back it up with convincing data or stats or past work, so you're kind of coming at it with not just saying, because it's my opinion. It's like, these are proven techniques, it's proven strategy, and it really works. But I mean, ultimately they are the client, and all you can do is advise, and as long as you've done that to the best of your ability, then something, if they still want to go in a different direction, you just have to go, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, and what I'll say is, one thing we do in the pitching process is we say, look, we're a frank and honest agency. We say it how it is. If we see something that we believe is a strategic mistake, we're going to kind of call you out on it, and we're going to, not in a rude way, we're going to kind of, we're going to point it out and say, look, we believe this isn't quite right, or this is what you should be doing. And yeah, like Ella said, wherever possible, back it up, link to an article, link to something that proves it's not just your opinion.
It's like if you were, sorry, go on.
And what was I going to say? I lost my train of thought. And what was I saying? Back it up, link to it. And then, like Ella said, there's only so much you can do. And even I say that in the pitching process, I say, look, we're always going to do that. And they respect that. Often it's a good sell. They're like, oh, that's what we want. Whether they do or not, you don't know in reality, but often they want that, or they like you saying that. So it helps sell you before you've even sealed the deal. But then when it comes to the reality of the situation, is you give that suggestion, you send that email, or you jump in that meeting. And if they say no, then, the client is always right. At the end of the day, they're paying you for your services. So you have to do it. And don't get too kind of precious. We see this with freelancers a lot. I know you want to have that perfect copy on the website for your own portfolio, right? But don't push back too hard, otherwise you are going to piss off the client.
Don't be defensive.
Exactly. If they want to butcher your copy and put it on the site, you can argue your case, and then once, and that's it. It's your portfolio is not as important as what they want and pleasing the client, and that's really important.
I think it is. It's about, there's a big part of copywriting which is about humility. Like, you do have to just step back, and it's not your writing, it's for the clients, and you do just have to step back and go, okay, fair enough. I think that's a really good point, and I think that is something that copywriters can easily stumble into, because it's not very nice seeing your copy get butchered, but it
all the time.
All the time, exactly. Cool. I think that's everything.
Awesome.
Can you think of anything else, or have we covered everything off?
I think we've had a perfect session.
Perfect session. Cool. Look out for the next masterclass, guys. Hope it's been useful, and feel free to ask us any questions in the community as well.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Bye.